Hello, this video is a review of Chapter 9. Chapter 9 of your book is talking about object-oriented programming, which is something that we have been talking about since the very beginning of class. Let me adjust this a little bit. Come on, a little bit more. There we go. And in it, you're going to learn about how creating objects of different classes in the same program, how objects interact with each other, how to create complex objects by combining them, in other words, using inheritance, how deriving new classes, excuse me, not inheritance, composition or aggregation, deriving new classes from existing ones, extending the definition of a class, also inheritance, and overriding methods, which all these things we have talked about. Now, it's a good chapter, but it's dense. And part of the reason is he's using a very practical example, but it's a complex example, setting up a blackjack game. And as you can see here, we've got a dealer, we've got a couple of different players, and some rules to code. Now, he does a good job of building on the process and showing how you can combine different objects like a card into a hand or a deck. And so it's worth looking at, but be aware that it can be a little overwhelming for folks. The key things I want you to take away from it are how inheritance works, things that we've talked about. If the code starts to bog you down, don't just give up on the chapter, just kind of skim through the code. You're going to see that a lot of the code is something that you're very familiar with. So, yeah, he's got a lot of numbers there, but there are certain things that are really apparent, like the ranks. They're ace and 1, 2, 3, you know that. And suits are like clubs and diamonds and hearts and spades. And you can see that he's making a list of these items. And you can also see things like his constructor, you can see the toString method, and other things. And like I said, the code can be a bit dense, but I don't think it's horribly bad if you just take it a piece at a time. And don't get bogged down in the game so much. It's just the concept of how things work together. Now, the second part of the chapter talks about modules, and that's what I spent most of our videos talking about. The videos in the previous module, Module 8, I talked more about inheritance and polymorphism and overriding things and that kind of thing on purpose so that you'd have a couple of weeks to kind of investigate that and look at it. This week, I focused on the modules and the videos, but the chapter covers both. The second part is talking about these modules files. And so you'll see how he creates module files, and you'll see examples of him making a module file and putting these classes into those module files and doing the import. Certainly it's worth your time to read and look it over because as you've seen, you can use these modules to make complete applications such as the author's blackjack game. So it's a cool chapter. It will take you some time. The good news is we're done with the chapters of the book. So this is the last chapter in the book that you need to read. If you want to continue on to other chapters after the class is done, fantastic. The chapters are pretty good. He'll start off talking about a module that you can add that's pre-built by other people that allow you to make Windows applications. So the kind that have little buttons for opening, for closing and minimizing, and buttons that you can click on, and just a regular Windows application. It's kind of cool. That's in Chapter 10, but we're not going to get into that. So anyway, at this point, after you've read these first 9 chapters, I feel like you've accomplished everything you need to get the basics of working with Python, and actually not just Python, but programming in general. How you make programs in the modern world using techniques such as making code modules, whether it's a PY file or a jar file or a DLL, how you use classes and inheritance and polymorphism, um, these techniques that have been so popular in today's programming, this object-oriented approach, how variables and lists work, and the like. We've talked about a lot of things, and hopefully you're getting a pretty good understanding of what it's like to be a programmer from this introduction to programming class. So give this a chapter a read when you can. Take your time going through it. I think you can expect it to take a little bit of time. You're probably getting to the point where you're just wrapping up things. You may be playing catch up from a couple modules ago. This is a great time for that. I'm trying on purpose. I'm trying to kind of lessen your workload as we go forward. So I think you'll find that the assignments coming up, next two assignments, are going to reflect that. In fact, that's the next topic of the next video, looking at what the assignment is this week. So I will see you there.